Okay, so this is the Daf 36 Amud Beit for Tractate Shevuot. So here we go. Rather, nevertheless, reverse the attribution of the opinions in the Mishnah and say that Rabbi Meir deems the witnesses exempt from liability for an oath of testimony as even in ritual matters. Rabbi Meir does not accept the principle. From a negative statement, you can infer a positive statement. Ravina objects to this. In ritual matters, does Rabbi Meir not accept the principle? But if that is so, with regard to the halacha, the priest who performed the temple service while intoxicated with wine, and priests who perform the temple service with overgrown hair on their head, who based on this principle are liable to receive death at the hand of heaven, so too does Rabbi Meir not accept this principle. But didn't we learn in Braita? And these are they who are liable to receive death at the hand of heaven: priests who perform the temple service while intoxicated with wine, and priests who perform the temple service with overgrown hair on their head. And Rabbi Meir does not disagree with that ruling. Question. That's a question. So rather, actually reverse the attribution of the opinions in the Mishnah and say that Rabbi Meir deems the witness exempt from liability for an oath of testimony. When Rabbi Meir does not accept that principle, it is only in cases involving monetary matters. But in cases involving ritual matters, he accepts the principle. That is the reason he does not dispute the halacha in the Braita with regard to a priest intoxicated with wine or with overgrown hair on his head. And the reason that he does not accept the principle, from a negative statement you can infer a positive statement. In the case of a sota, that is, a sota is different because it is a ritual matter in which there are ramifications involving monetary matters, such as payment of a marriage contract. The same is true with regard to an oath of testimony in the Mishnah. Although it is a ritual matter, it is a ritual matter with ramifications involving monetary matters. Hadran alach, Shevuot, ha'edut. Okay, so now we have a new parach. So the Mishnah is parach Hey, the fifth parach of the Mishnah, fifth chapter. So it says, one who takes a false oath denying that he is in possession of an item one who takes a false oath denying that he is in possession of an item that another deposited with him is liable to return the item with an additional 1/5 of its value and to bring a guilt offering, according to Leviticus 5:20-26. The halachot of an oath on a deposit apply to men and to women, to non-relatives and to relatives, even if the owner of the deposit and the purported bailee are related, to those fit to serve as witnesses and to those disqualified from doing so. These halachot apply when the oath is taken in the presence of a court and when taken not in the presence of a court. As long as the oath is taken on his own, that is stated by the defendant himself. But if the oath is administered by others, he is not liable unless he denies the claim in court. This is the statement of Rabbi Meir. So the rabbis say, that's the majority, both when the defendant takes an oath on his own and when the oath is administered by others, once he has falsely denied the claim against him, he's liable to bring a guilt offering and to pay restitution and an additional 1/5, even if the oath was not administered in the presence of a court. And one is liable to bring an offering for intentionally taking a false oath on a deposit, for unwittingly taking a false oath about the intentional misappropriation of the deposit. If one knowingly took a false oath but was unaware that he is liable to bring an offering for taking the oath, but he is not liable for unwittingly taking a false oath by itself, where he mistakenly thought that he did not owe anything. And what is he liable for when he intentionally takes a false oath? He must bring a guilt offering worth at least 2 silver shekels. So the Mishnah continues, what is the case of an oath on a deposit? It is where the claimant said to the defendant, give me my deposit, which is in your possession. And the defendant replied, on my oath, nothing of yours is in my possession. Or the defendant said to him, nothing of yours is in my possession. The claimant responded, I administer an oath to you. And the defendant said, Amen. In either case, this defendant is liable to bring a guilt offering if he lied. If the claimant administered an oath to him 5 times, whether in the presence of a court or in the presence of a court, whether in the presence of a court or not in the presence of a court, and the defendant falsely denied each claim, he is liable to bring a guilt offering for each and every denial. So Rabbi Shimon said, what is the reason? It is due to the fact that he is able to retract and confess after each oath and repay the claimant. Since he did not do so, each oath is considered a separate denial of a monetary claim. Okay, so if 5 people were suing him and they said to him, give us back our deposit that is in your possession, and the defendant says, on my oath, nothing of yours is in my possession, he is liable for only one false oath. But if he responds to each claimant, on my oath, nothing of yours is in my possession, nothing of yours, and nothing of yours, he is liable for his oath concerning each and every claim that he denied. So Rabbi Eliezer says he is not liable for his oath concerning each claim unless he says, on my oath, at the end of the denial. So he says, nothing of yours is in my possession, and nothing of yours is in my possession, on my oath. So that is clear that he is taking an oath to each one. So Rabbi Shimon says he is not liable for his oath concerning each claim unless he says, on my oath, to each and every claimant, such as, on my oath, nothing of yours is in my possession, on my oath, nothing of yours is in my possession, and so on. So in a case where the claimant said, give me back my deposit and pledge, stolen item, and lost item that are in your possession, and the defendant responds, on my oath, nothing of yours is in my possession, he is liable for only one false oath. If he responds, on my oath, I did not have in my possession your deposit or pledge, stolen item, or lost item, he is liable for his oath concerning each and every claim. In a case where the claimant said, give me back my wheat and barley and spelt that are in your possession, if the defendant responds, on my oath, nothing of yours is in my possession, he is liable for only one false oath. But if he responds, on my oath, I do not have in my possession your wheat, barley, or spelt, he is liable for his oath concerning each and every claim. Rabbi Meir says, even if the defendant says, on my oath, I do not have in my possession your grain of wheat, or grain of barley, or grain of spelt, he is liable for his oath concerning each and every claim. The Mishnah continues. If one accuses another, you raped or you seduced my daughter, and the other says, I did not rape and I did not seduce your daughter, to which the father replied, I administer an oath to you, and the defendant said, Amen, the defendant is liable to bring a guilt offering if it is a false oath. So Rabbi Shimon deems him exempt, since one does not pay a fine based on his own admission. Had he confessed, he would have been exempt from paying the fine. He is therefore not liable for his denial. The rabbi said to him, even though he does not pay the fine based on his own admission, he does not pay compensation for humiliation and compensation for degradation resulting from her being raped or seduced, which are monetary claims, not fines, based on his own admission. He is therefore liable for a false oath, as he denied a monetary claim. Similarly, in a case where a person accuses another, you stole my ox, and the defendant says, I did not steal your ox. If the claimant replied, I administer an oath to you, and the defendant said, Amen, he is liable to pay for the ox due to the theft and to bring a guilt offering if he lied, since by his oath he is denying that he owes the value of the ox that he would have to pay if he admitted to stealing it. But in a case where the claimant accuses the defendant of stealing the ox and slaughtering or selling it, the defendant says, I stole the ox, but I did not slaughter or sell it. And if this is a lie, if the claimant responded, I administer an oath to you, and he said, Amen, then the defendant is exempt from the fivefold payment for slaughtering or selling another's ox, since it is a fine. If the claimant says, your ox killed my ox, and the defendant lies and says, I did not kill your ox, to which the claimant replied, I administer an oath to you, and he said, Amen, then he is liable for his false oath. But if the claimant says, your ox killed my Canaanite slave, and you are therefore liable to pay me a fine of 30 shekels, and he lies and says, it did not kill your slave, to which the claimant replied, I administer an oath to you, and he said, Amen, then he is exempt, because payment for the slave is a fine. If the claimant said to him, you injured me and caused me a wound, and the defendant says, I did not injure you, and I did not cause you a wound, to which the claimant replies, I administer an oath to you, and he said, Amen, he is liable. But if one's slave said to him, you knocked out my tooth, or you blinded my eye, and you are therefore required to emancipate me, like release them, give them freedom, And he says, I did not knock out your tooth, or I did not blind your eye. To which the slave replies, I administer an oath to you. And he said, Amen. He is exempt from bringing a guilt offering, even though he lied, since the obligation to emancipate one's slave in these cases is a penalty. So he's getting his freedom, and that takes the obligation. So this is the principle for any claim that the defendant would have to pay based on his own admission. He is liable to bring a guilt offering for taking a false oath concerning that claim. And for any claim that he would not pay based on his own admission, but would pay only by the testimony of witnesses, he is exempt from bringing a guilt offering for taking a false oath concerning that claim. So now we're finished with the Gemara, and we're finished with the Mishnah, and we're back to the Gemara. The Gemara says, Rav Acha bar Huna and Rav Shmuel, son of Rabba bar Chana, and Rav Yitzchak, son of Rav Yehuda, studied tractate Shevuot in the study hall of Rabbah. So they were studying the Mishnah of this section. So Rav Kahana encountered them and inquired with regard to a matter in the Mishnah. He said, and that is the end of Daf 36. So we'll pick up in 37a in another video.